Right on. Well, thank you guys so much. And, I thought I'd take you through my journey to give a few lessons. I still think my specialty is sales. I think I'm always selling with value. And I want to talk about that journey of money and value. I grew up thinking money buys happiness and love. I grew up in a place called Akron, Ohio, single mom, 6 kids, 5 boys and a girl. And, I was happy. The only time I wasn't happy is when I caught my mom crying over some financial stress. A car would break down, a dishwasher, not enough money for food or school, whatever it was. And in my mind, since the time I was 5 years old and my father left, I decided that I was going to make a lot of money. I was going to be rich so I could buy my mom a house and a car, and then I'd always be happy. The only thing that was missing in my life. And everything I did in my life reinforced the fact that money bought love and happiness. And it encouraged the skill set of selling and learning how to sell and why to sell and what motivated or inspired me to sell was a longer journey and a lot more lessons. Initially, I wanted to be rich by playing football. I was the only athlete in my entire family, which wasn't a great feat. But I did make and play college football. I got a scholarship. But my very first play, my freshman year, is I got ran over by a guy named Christian Okoye, better known as the Nigerian Nightmare. And I remember lying on my back and thinking about my mom's favorite saying, doctor, lawyer, or failure. And so I immediately said, I better be a doctor, and was pre-med in college. And that's where I learned the most important lesson of sales was my freshman year in college when I decided to be a doctor. I went and visited my oldest brother who was doing his residency and met him in the hospital. And my initial thoughts were, man, I hate hospitals. My brother almost fell over. He was floored. He couldn't believe. He's like, Dave, you're 18 years old. You're a freshman in college. God knows you're not going to be a professional football player. You're pre-med and you hate hospitals. I said, well, I want to be a sports doctor. I'll be in the locker rooms, the training rooms, the sidelines. What do I need to be in a hospital for? And that's when he told me this great lesson about sales. He said, David, you need to be more interested than interesting. I like to keep simple philosophies, simple lessons, because life is only about lessons, and the lessons will keep on coming until we learn them. They'll result in pain. I believe pain is an indicator, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, financial pain is an indicator that you have a lesson to learn. That's all it is. And so that first lesson was imperative of how I was going to live my life by being more interested, asking questions, and later on to learn a series of questions of not only how I could provide value and service, but who could help me. And I'll go through that transition as the story continues. I immediately thought doctor, lawyer, failure. So when I realized doctors at 18 years old have to be in hospitals, and I say that because later on in my career, I ran Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment, which is at that time the most notable sports agency in the world. They had done the movie Jerry Maguire about our firm. And I can't tell you how many kids still today come up to me and say, oh, Mr. Meltzer, I want to be just like you. I want to be a sports agent. And they know probably as much about being a sports agent as I did about being a doctor, because they weren't more interested than interesting. And the only way we find value is by being interested. Went to law school. Following the context of what my brother taught me, I reverse engineered what law school I went to because my objective was to make a lot of money so I could buy my mom a house and a car. I wanted to buy my mom a house and car, make $1 million, and retire. I went to law school and picked the law school that had the highest paying jobs getting out of the law school. So I picked maritime law. Oil and gas litigators were the highest paying job for first year law students that came out of law school. And so I studied really hard. And when I graduated, that's where the most important decision of my life came. I got offered a job to be an oil and gas litigator, a 6-figure litigation job. But I also, because I was true to my objective of buying my mom a house and a car, I also got offered a sales job. I got offered a sales job selling in 1992 legal research online. And online, the web was just at its infancy. It was .edu mainly. And I went to my mom, my trusted advisor, and said, Mom, what should I do? Without blinking, she told me I should be a real lawyer, that the internet and a sales job was too risky. The internet was a fad, and I was going to end up, unfortunately, broke and back at home if I didn't take the law job. Second great lesson of my life is when I learned that just because somebody loves me doesn't mean they give me good advice. And for the first time in my life, I voted for what I wanted. I didn't vote for doctor, lawyer, or failure. I didn't vote for what other people wanted. I allowed people to laugh at me, scoff at me, make fun of me. All my friends from law school thought I was crazy after doing so well in law school and getting such a great job in 1992 to take a sales job, selling legal research on this new fad, the internet. I was crazy. Well, like usual, when people laugh at you, scoff at you, and make fun of you, eventually they applaud you. 9 months out of law school, I made my first $1 million, bought my mom a house and a car. Once again, reaffirming money buys love and happiness, but also teaching me a great lesson of efficiency, effectiveness, and statistical success. If you guys are sales guys at all, you're probably asking, how the hell did you make $1 million 9 months out of law school? And I beat people with math, and I still do. I beat people with straight math. What I created was, at that time, what I called the power of 64. I looked at the majority of the sales reps who were over 50 years old, used to making 6 figures a year, mainly selling books at the time. They were just getting involved in putting it onto CD-ROMs and online. But I looked at them and I said, at best, these guys work, 8 hours a day. But I don't want to work, right? I want to shift my perspective. I want activity I get paid for. And so what if I could get really focused and have 16 hours of activity that I get paid for a day, 7 days a week? Even if I wasn't as good as they were, and I didn't know as many people and have accounts that have been working for 20 or 30 years, just by straight time and math, I would be more productive. And then what if I practiced and created systems and processes to be more efficient than them? So I could take my 16 hours, 7 days a week, and times it by 2 in productivity by being more efficient. Now I could have 32-hour days of productivity. And then what if through that practice, I became more statistically successful? If the average salesperson could sell 2 out of 10, what if I could sell 4 out of 10? My 32 hours of productivity would become 4 hours of productivity 7 days a week, because I learn like I do. I look at things as activities, and I really enjoy activity I get paid for over activity I don't get paid for. So 9 months out of law school, when I went to the first sales meeting, I'd outsold everyone 3-1, made over $1 million, and I learned a valuable lesson of sales at that time too, that they changed my comp plan. So I realized in sales, sometimes when you do too well, your greatest reward is a smaller territory with a higher number. That was terrific. But moreover, I made that $1 million with math. And I laughed when they gave me the award for the top salesperson and told me that I blew out my $250,000 comp plan. I was 24 years old. I was laughing, and one of my directors was like, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "Well, I really didn't beat my comp plan." And he said, "You made over $1 million on 250,000 comp plan." I said, "Yeah, but I worked 10 years. And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, I was productive 64 hours a day, 7 days a week for 9 months. That's equivalent to what these guys do in 10 years. I was actually far below comp, but I learned at a very young age that I could beat people with math, with efficiency, effectiveness, and statistical success. 1995 came, we sold our company for $3.4 billion. That's when most companies weren't worth $1 billion. Took advantage once again of my values and went to the Silicon Valley. I started learning another superpower of sales. I learned to raise money for companies and charities, raised a couple $100 million for a wireless proxy server company, which by 30 parlayed me into being a multimillionaire and running the world's first smartphone, the world's first Windows CE device, continually not only upgrading the people that I surrounded myself with, but also the ideas that I surrounded myself with, the beliefs, limitations, continually reinforcing once again, though, that money buys love and happiness. At 30, I married my childhood dream girl. I don't say sweetheart because she hated me. My best friend asked her to go study at 6th grade camp for me. She said no, tell him to ask me himself, embarrassed me in front of everyone. So I threw an egg at her. And took me years and years till she would actually go out with me. But that just reaffirmed in my mind that money bought happiness and love. That was the reason that she went out with me. That was the reason she married me. At 30 years old, I got the first warning that changed my sales perspective. My father, he left when I was 5. He was my hero, great salesman, retired when he was 31. He bought 12 horses, race trained and owned harness horses in Cleveland, Ohio at Northfield Park, and married a girl closer to my age than his, drove a convertible Cadillac around. Little did I know at 5, though, that he was a deadbeat dad, back in the 70s, wasn't giving any child support. And there I was, like a little jerk to my mom, sitting in the back of a Country Squire station wagon, eating my dinner in a paper bag, telling her, why can't you be more like my dad? Meanwhile, my dad wasn't doing anything for me. And my mom was working 2 jobs as a second grade teacher and then filling up turnstiles with greeting cards at night at the convenience stores. And here I am telling her my dad's my hero. At 10 years old, my dad changed that. He forgot my birthday at 10. Now that's not that bad, but what happened was when I asked him how he could forget my birthday, I realized the salesmanship in him. He told me he didn't forget my birthday. He just doesn't believe in birthdays. Now, at 10, I was smart enough to know he would celebrated his own birthday and celebrated my sibling's birthday. And I realized that my dad was a salesperson, right? He was a salesperson of the worst kind. He was a liar, a cheater, a manipulator, an overseller, and a back-end seller. And I hated him. He went from hero to zero at 10. But at 30 years old, I was living in Rancho Santa Fe, buying everything that I wanted. I was buying things I didn't need to impress people I didn't like: boats, cars, motorhomes, golf course, ski mountain, all types of stuff. I went from a world of not enough in Akron, Ohio, where I lived in scarcity, not enough of anything for anyone, to a world of just enough for me. And I was philanthropic. I gave a lot. I believe the more that I gave, the more I would get, which a lot of people believe. Later on in life, I'd find the difficulty in that because that's trading. I would only give with conditions and judgments, acknowledgement or recognition or some sort of grace tied to it. I'd give down payments to my brothers for houses, expecting some sort of respect or gratitude in return. I do stuff for my mom. I give to the community for acknowledgement and recognition of how great I was. Everything in my life was a trade. And at 30, my dad gave me a birthday present after 20 years. And he gave me a great sales lesson as well. He gave me a jacket. A big box came. I put on the sport coat and it fit beautifully. And I started to cry. My wife said, "Why are you crying?" I said, "Well, I haven't got a present from my dad in 20 years. And this jacket fits perfectly. My dad must have cared enough to ask what my sizes were and went so far out of his way to make a point that he wants to reunite with me and have a relationship." I opened the jacket up. He had torn out all the lining, the insides, the pockets to the jacket. I immediately got extremely mad, frustrated, called him, asked him, "Why would you punish me on my birthday? Why, after 20 years, would you give me a gift I can't wear?" And he calmly stated, "It's not for wearing." I said, "Then why would you send it to me?" He said, "David, it's for you to be buried in. It's there to remind you, hanging in your closet every day, that you're just like me." I got so upset. "Dad, I'm nothing like you, man. You are a consummate salesman. You are an overseller, a back-end seller, a liar, a cheater, manipulator. I'm nothing like you. I don't want to be anything like you. F you." He said, "Dave, hang that jacket up and remind yourself you can't take anything with you when you're gone. Money doesn't buy love and happiness. And you're going to be very, very sad if you're the richest man in the cemetery. Please, please learn from you." I wasn't ready to hear that message. I hung up on him and told him to F off. Years later, in 2006, I was running Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment now. I had left the technology space, running the most notable sports agency. I was surrounded by celebrities, athletes, entertainers, going to the greatest sporting events and award shows and entertainment activities in the whole world. I was living a dream, but also first time in my life I wasn't happy. I went golfing with my best friend, Rob, the guy who asked my wife to go steady in 6th grade camp for me. And I asked him, "Hey man, you want to go to the Masters with me?" And he said, not really. I said, well, why not? You never hang out with me. Come on, we'll have a great time. We'll go with all these celebrities and entertainers and greatest people and greatest time in the world. He said, I just don't like the people you hang out with, and I definitely don't like what you're doing. And I looked at him. I said, come on, man, I'm not doing what those guys are doing. And he said, David, you can lie to me, but don't lie to yourself. I was crushed because that was the first time in over a decade that anyone had stood up to me and told me the truth. Just straight out the truth, that I was living in that world of buying things I didn't need to impress people I didn't want, in a world of just enough, and the whole world was just about me. And I was lying to myself and lying to others. 2 weeks later, my life changed. I came home 5:30 in the morning. I lied to my wife. I told her I was going to a business meeting. I went to the Grammy Awards with Little John the Rapper. Came home intoxicated and high at 5:30 in the morning. My wife was waiting for me. Never seen her so mad in my life, and started screaming at me, telling me that I was lost, that I better take stock in who I was and what I wanted to become. Or not only was she leaving, but I was going to end up dead. I got really pissed. I remember telling her, how dare you even talk to me that way? Look around you. Who do you think provided all of these things? Once again, relying on the fact that money buys love and happiness. I was so insulted, offended, and I stormed off, went to bed, woke up in the morning even more upset. I was thinking to myself, how could I take everything away from her? Since money buys love and happiness, I was going to take her love and happiness away. I was going to take all the houses, the cars, the money, and even try to take my kids. I had 3 girls under 10 at that time. I was so mad and so lost. And then I looked over in the closet, and a light was shining on that jacket. That jacket was just speaking to me, and I just broke down and realized I am just like my dad. I'm no salesman. I'm a liar. I'm a cheater. I'm an overseller, a back-end seller, and a manipulator. That's all I am. I'm just like my father. Everything I hated about my father, I was. And so I sat down and took inventory of my values. And that's the first step in being a great salesperson and business person, is every day to take stock in your personal experience, giving and receiving value every day, not for what you want, allowing people to laugh at you, scoff at you, make fun of you, so that someday they will applaud you. Allowing yourself to vote for what you want, so it's elected into your life, and not being afraid of being a hypocrite. I love being a hypocrite. I love the fact that my values change, because that means I'm growing and accelerating. And I utilize that every day in my life to take inventory of my values. And the 4 values that I live by, number 1 is gratitude. Gratitude for everything. I've learned to find the light, the love, and the lessons in everything that I do. Pain, as I told you, is just an indicator that I have a lesson to learn. And by finding the light, the love, and the lessons, being more interested than interesting, I can be grateful for everything that occurs in the past, the present, and even the future is brighter. Forgiveness is the second one. I had to learn to forgive myself so I could forgive others. Nobody deserves my forgiveness except for me. But I need to learn to forgive myself, because I need to make mistakes. I need to learn and to live and to love, to accelerate and grow in order to exponentially grow and meet my objectives or surpass them. The third was accountability. I'd been living my life in blame, shame, and justification far below the line. I needed to be accountable. And being accountable meant to ask 2 questions. What did I do to attract this to myself? And what am I supposed to learn from it? And then finally, the continuum of inspiration or effective communication. No longer was I going to trade. No longer was I going to be a victim living in a world of not enough, or just living in a world for me of just enough. I now was going to live with inspiration in a world of more than enough of everything for everyone. I was going to provide $100 worth of value and ask for 20 back. I was going to show that I was connected to at all times to the greatest source of power. That I had more power in my pinky to light up Manhattan, more power in my body, because I was always connected to that. And that I was the one creating the interference, the corrosion. I was the one attracting the no's into my life. I was the one that wasn't allowing all of that power to come through me in a world of more than enough for others with appreciation. What's appreciation? Gratitude and the ability to add value to what I'm giving. Everything comes through me for others. I ended up shifting that paradigm in my life. 2 years after that, I lost everything. I lost over $100 million utilizing these principles and a few that I'm going to teach you pragmatically. I was able to make all of it back, not by trading, but by focusing in on receiving, knowing that everything I receive comes through me for others, a true purpose, but understanding what I want was essential. So the 5 things that I want to teach you today here in the last 10 minutes, and then we'll do some Q&A. Number 1, take inventory of your values every day. Take inventory of your personal, experiential, giving and receiving values. Number 2, ask. The easiest thing to do as a salesperson, most important thing, is to ask of how you can be of service or value by asking open-ended questions with credibility, emotional attachment, quantifying the reasons, impacts, and capability in order in leveraging the features and benefits to effectuate those 3 things. But ask a series of questions of how you can be of service or value. And then 2, ask a series of questions. Do you know anyone that can help me? One of my favorite 2 stories about asking mathematically and beating people in sales and math is Home Depot has 4 types of checkouts. They have the consumer checkout, the contractor checkout, the garden checkout, and then of course the self-checkout. One of those checkouts sells more warranties, more appliance warranties, more tool warranties, more of the upsell warranties than any other checkout, 3 to 1. The aggregate of the other 3 don't even come close. In fact, it sells over 30% more than the aggregate of the other 3. And that is the electronic checkout, the self-checkout. Why? Because everybody that comes through gets asked. When they created those Stripe machines before COVID and they turn them around when you're picking up food or on takeout, tips were up 1,200% because those machines asked. The biggest deficiency of salespeople is they're afraid to ask. Their ego gets in their way. They're afraid of no. My perception of no is twofold. 1, I tell myself I'm only 25 no's from getting what I want. So after 5 no's, I'm excited. 10, I'm even more excited. 20, I'm super excited. 24 no's, I'm ecstatic. I know that each no, I get closer to what I want. And there's a lesson to learn to get to the next one. I also don't chase, right? I accept the fact that when I'm in the course of a sale that I have a 3 no rule. That if I'm in the course of a sale and somebody doesn't show up, that's 1 no. If something should happen that I forget or get a flat tire or something else should happen, that's 2 no's. On the 3rd no, I simply always state, hey, I have to take care of the clients I have and the ones that want to speak with me. Obviously, this isn't the right time or there may be some emotional interference, but when you're ready, give me a call. 50% of the time, the person never calls me back, which is terrific. But 50% of the time, they engage and I move the sales forward. Both of those are efficient, effective, and statistically successful ways to get to the answer quicker, which is absolutely one of the best sales tools and advice that I can give you. So you need to ask a series of questions of how you can provide service or value and a series of questions. And don't think of everyone as a gatekeeper. I spent 20 years in sales, training thousands of sales reps to overcome objections and get around sales gatekeepers and under them and over them and through them and overcome all the resistance a gatekeeper could have. There are no gatekeepers, just sorry to break. There's only sponsors. Look for the superpowers in people. Look for what you want in people. Everyone is a sponsor, a power sponsor, especially today. A sponsor is simply someone that knows someone that can help you. A power sponsor is someone that can help you themselves and knows somebody that can help you. And so look upon people not as resistance, but as literally catalysts for you and what your objectives are. It's your challenge to articulate the value of giving $100 worth of value and only asking for 20 back. I actually wake up every morning, a part of my meditation, and I envision my room full of $100 bills, and I emotionally practice what it feels like to give $100 bills away and to collect $20 back. I carry that energy. I carry those emotions. I live in an effortless world, in a statistically successful, efficient world. The 3rd piece of advice is to be a student of your calendar. Now, the word study means to pay attention, but it also means to give intention to that attention. Intention is what you think, say, do, and believe, and having some sort of understanding of your quantum being, your DNA, your habits, your disciplines, personality traits, and characteristics that effectuate your frequency, the way people perceive you. The strength of your signal, the spectrum of your signal, and the clarity of your message is determinative upon the vibration or frequency that you carry. Those are a direct effect of what you pay attention to and give intention to. In other words, attention plus intention equals the coincidences you want in your life. There's no such thing as luck. Coincidence is a mathematical occurrence. It's when two angles collide in the same or coincide in the exact same place at a perfect time in a perfect place. That's exactly what occurs when you pay attention and intention to things. And so studying your calendar effectuates time, meaning if you study what you have planned during the day, what you don't have planned for the day, meaning the blank space, the white space, the empty space in your calendar, and your sleep, you will be exponentially more successful. You will accelerate all the coincidences that you want, and everyone will perceive you as lucky. You will make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun with your life simply by being a student of your calendar, what you have planned, what you don't have planned, and your sleep, the number one habit that we share. 8 hours a day. Study your sleep. I live my life so that I wake up every day at 4 a.m. I have routines, one, a set routine, and an adaptable routine, both to facilitate what I want to get done during the day, prioritizing my values correctly. The fourth thing that you want to do, which is the easiest thing to do and the biggest harbor of interference, is do it now. Most salespeople don't do things now. I can tell you so many sales stories of myself where I had, 7, 8-figure deals, and I had to wait 3, 4 weeks to call someone back, and that day would come, and then all these unimportant things got in the way, and I forgot to call. And I'm sure some of you probably have had this experience where you're like, how the heck did I forget to do that? Do it now. Simple question that goes through my head is, can I do it now? And if I could do it now, I do it. If not, I put it in my calendar for tomorrow. The greatest thing about doing things now is 100% of all things you do now get done. The number one difference between people who are successful and unsuccessful are people that are successful get shit done. Get stuff done, do it now. If you don't do it now, put it in your calendar, prioritize it for tomorrow by what's most important according to the inventory of your values of that day, personal, experiential, giving, and receiving. And then finally, the biggest piece of advice all sales business is practicing ending fear. You got to practice ending fear. You are creating interference and resistance and corrosion between you and the most powerful source of light, love, and lessons that have ever existed. You have a need to be right, a need to be offended, a need to be separate, a need to be inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty. All of these emotions get in your way from what you want. The thermostat of your life should be the way that you feel, not your bank account. The thermostat of your success should be the way you feel, not your bank account. Bank account is an ingredient in the mercury that exists in your thermostat, but it's not the thermostat itself. I'm going to stop here with a quick story about how to be a ferocious Buddha and practice ending fear. Notice I say practice. It's a lifelong journey to practice this, to lessen the interference to what you're connected to and lessen the interference what you're connecting it to, because everything comes through you as you connect to everything. A tree has no branches, and we're facilitating that. Just a real quick story. I wake up at 4 a.m. every day. I meditate for 20 minutes to find my highest frequency, raise my awareness and my vibration, and 10 minutes to get ready, and then I go to the gym at 4:30. On a Saturday, I came outside right at 4:30, feeling at an unbelievable perspective, and I walk outside, and my daughter's car was missing. My 17-year-old daughter's car was missing. I immediately go into ego-based consciousness. I'm extremely pissed. I pick up the phone and I'm about to ask my daughter, where the F is your car? Where the F are you? And then I'm a ferocious Buddha and I realize, thermostat, I'm not feeling at my highest frequency. I'm not feeling at that plateau and growth state of mind. I'm not in neutral. I'm not allowing things to happen. Things aren't coming through me. I'm creating interference. I'm accelerating in the wrong trajectory. Stop. Stopping when you're in ego is one of the most ferocious things that you can do. And after I stop, I ask myself, why do I feel so angry? I start dropping and breathing down into what I call the ferocious Buddha. I'm a Buddha and start thinking about why, getting into a state of mind And I realized that I'm not angry. I'm terrified. I'm terrified something has happened to one of the most important people in my life who I'm responsible for. And as I get into center, as I get into neutral, and I start moving in the right trajectory, not accelerating in interference, corrosion, in anger, I realize I can call my daughter. And so I call calmly. And I ask her as she answers, as I wake her up, "Where are you?" "I'm in my bed." "Where's your car?" "Oh, it's at the grocery store. Daddy, you told me if kids were drinking that I should Uber home." "Oh, I'm so proud of you. I'm sorry for waking you. Go back to sleep. I love you, Daddy. I love you too." Now, that may not sound significant, may not be what you thought would be the best way to end a sales seminar, workshop, or any type of advice, but these are the things that change your life. You know, if I would have called her and said, "Where the F are you?" She'd say, "In my bed. Why are you yelling at me?" And I'll be like, "Where the F is your car?" "It's at the grocery store. You told me if kids were drinking, I should Uber home." "You were drinking? I'm going to take your car. I'm going to take your phone. F you, Dad. I hate you." If that's not bad enough, the next time kids are drinking, my daughter would step into a car because she'd be afraid of getting yelled at or in trouble or her car getting taken or her phone getting taken away. Talk about accelerating in the wrong trajectory. Think about how simple and subtle this universe works when we practice ending fear. Because if I utilize fear and anger and frustration and ego, my daughter could have changed my life. Definitely change her life, or worse, change somebody else's life by stepping in that car because I created an acceleration in the wrong direction. This is what we do all day long, especially in sales. We lose our credibility. We interfere with the emotional connection of oneness. We don't allow ourselves to quantify the reasons, impacts, and capabilities of somebody working with us to provide more value than we're asking for, $100 worth of value and only asking for 20 back. We lose the capability of asking someone, "Can you see any reason you don't want to move forward?" We don't have the impact that we want to have on someone's life. And we utilize our features and benefits, in this case, our skills, our knowledge, and our desire, the desire to must be what we can be, to enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential in order to effectuate empowering others, to empower others to be happy. This is where my mission came from. I have been doing trainings for free every single Friday for over 20 years, simply to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. Because I'm looking for 1,000 people like you guys that have the capability of empowering another 1,000 to empower another 1,000, 1,000 times 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000 times 1,000, 1,000,000,000, just to simply be happy. In fact, today, with everything going on, I've changed the topic of this Friday's training. I do them at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, to simply do a town hall, a forum to answer questions, to help people move in the right trajectory, to not create so much resistance, interference, void, shortages, and obstacles, to not accelerate into separation, but to understand that a tree has no branches. One tree would not go to war against another branch. One branch would not go to war against another branch. Unification, not equality. Unification consumes equality. And my goal is to empower you. Happy people make money, help people, and have fun. And that's what I want for all of you. I appreciate the time. I'm more than happy to stay and answer some questions as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. I did a quick question. Maybe I can get it started off with these guys. You know, something I learned from you a few years back. You know, when I first started watching your videos and coming across your pages, we have a lot of subconscious thoughts that come into our brain every day, and negativity that may be attributed to just from the everyday things in life that we deal with and don't even realize. What advice do you have to these guys of how they can wake up and from the second they open their eyes, they can start breathing this positivity?
Yeah, so it's about understanding first this conscious, subconscious, and unconscious continuum. The conscious is a short-term memory. It's stupid. You have a cellular memory, all of us, right? We're all matter, and we all matter, but we all have cells, and they're stupid. The cells that we have of cellular memory, they rely on our senses, our way we see things, smell things, taste things, hear things, and touch things, but we can only remember them from when we open our eyes to the time we close them. It also relies on our memory, which is even dumber. And so what we need to do is be consistent every day in order to effectuate our subconscious. And our subconscious holds 40,000 of the same thoughts. It's an intermediate memory. And if we access those minimum 21 days, but it could be years, 21 years, 21 lifetimes, determinative upon our unconscious competency, our DNA, our quantum memory. So everyone's individual. So some of us, we can smoke one cigarette, never smoke cigarettes again. Some of us, it take 21 years to quit smoking. That's not because our conscious or subconscious is different. It's we all have different quantum being. We all have different potentials. And so that different determines how these habits are formed. Well, what happens is those 40,000 thoughts, they get in our way, the subconscious thoughts. And so when, number one, we start having negative thoughts, negative impacts, I always say you can control 4 things: your mindset, your feelings, what you think, say, and do. And literally, when you're listening to the wrong things or you hear negative thoughts or attacking thoughts, you need to physically cancel them. And if they keep coming back, then you have to clear them. So what I do is I find and practice finding my highest frequency at the very beginning of the day. I use meditation, but you don't have to. If you like to go for a jog or walk your dog or read a book or whatever, drink a cup of coffee, it doesn't matter. Whatever puts you at your highest frequency at the very beginning of the day. I believe you only get one action the minute you wake up, and then everything is a reaction to your actions. One action every day starts anew. And so most people live their life like the myth of Sisyphus. They pull and push a big boulder up to the top of the hill. They go to sleep and let it roll down, and they start over the next day at the exact same place. If you learn to start the day at your highest frequency, if you learn to have a wind down routine so you can wake up at the same time every morning, you can plateau and grow. You'll keep raising the frequency that you have. You also will set a baseline for the whole day for the action and reaction so that you are more aware, so you can be a ferocious Buddha of when to stop, drop, and roll. You'll know this is not my better self. This is not my highest self. This is not my best. I am not my chief betterment officer. I'm at a low frequency. I better stop, drop, and roll and get back up to where I was, then move forward instead of getting way off track and accelerating in the wrong direction. So I cancel negative thoughts and attacking thoughts. I clear my mind if they don't go away. And then if they still reoccur, I connect to the most powerful source of energy, light, and lessons, the best that I can to emotionally practice getting rid of that energy.
Well, that was a great answer. But, so anybody, please, by any means, if you guys are thinking anything, Paulie, or if you guys have stuff too. You can't see a few of our employees over here. This is Paulie. He's our senior vice president. You might be able to see his nice lock of hair from where you're sitting. How you doing, David?
Very well. You just appeared. It was awesome on my screen.
Yeah. I have a quick question for you. Since a lot of our guys, all of our guys here, are going to be doing sales where there's a lot of ups and downs, and consistency is really, really important. Consistency in mindset, consistency in approach. What are like 1 or 2 key factors you can tell them that you found are successful in kind of navigating through those ups and downs and trying to stay steady and consistent? Just 1 or 2 things that you think are important.
Yeah, I'm a huge math guy. And so I was blessed to do some work with Steve Jobs, and he always talked about connecting the dots backwards. I find a lot of sales people, number one, limit themselves, and 2, they don't get the math of what they're doing. If you set forth with whatever goal or objective, economic objective that you have, and you reverse engineer, what's it going to take for me in person every day, on the telephone every day, via email every day, and media, radio, print, TV, and social media every day to get to that number every day, 7 days a week, right? I'm a person that literally finds the light, the love, and the lesson in everything to do. I've surrounded myself with celebrities, athletes, entertainers, TV shows, movies, all kinds of stuff I get to do. And I will tell you, I've lived a blessed life. Most people would dream about having the activity in their life that I have, or what they call a job. The truth is, portion of everything I do sucks, right? I don't love I've sat on the sidelines at the Super Bowl and said, this sucks, right? There's certain things that just 100% of everything isn't something you love to do. The people who are super successful in sales are the ones that first keep a mindset to find the light, the love, and the lessons. They learn to love everything you do. When I was a second-year law student, had $100,000 worth of law loans in a recession, begging for that oil and gas job, not thinking I'd ever get hired. I remember praying to God, just simply, I will shovel shit with my hands 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, if you just allow me to pay back my law loans and buy my mom a house and a car. That was my mindset. And I would have loved doing it. Because I worked through it in my head, and it was just a matter of learning to love what I do, but I would have attached the math to it. I had a real estate guy, came in, was going bankrupt. He was just a straight out agent. And, he wanted to make over $1 million a year in Orange County, California. And so I asked him the question, well, how many listings does that take a month to make $1 million a year? I don't know. Right? I'm not going to go around your room, but do you know how many sales exactly it's going to take you? At what number, where, how it's going to take you to meet or exceed your expectation of what you want to make? Because if you're working or activity you get paid for and you don't want to get paid or know what you want to get paid, you're making a huge mistake. So know that number. And we determined it would take 3 listings of a certain amount in order every month for him to make over $1 million. So then I said, okay, how many doors do you knock on? I don't knock on doors. Nobody knocks on doors. Really? I just did this with Vivint Solar. Dave, how the hell are we going to knock on doors? It's COVID. Are you crazy? I was like, yeah, I am crazy. Because I'll tell you this, the 2 reasons I would be knocking on doors right now is now in the history of my lifetime, more than ever, because I don't live in the 50s, husbands and wives are at home at the same time. Talk about savings and efficiencies and statistical success. Shit. I don't care what risk it is. I will knock on the door, back up 12 feet with the mask on, right? I don't care what it takes. Knock on the goddamn door. How many doors does it take to knock on to get the listings? Because nobody's doing it. Be in the empty mile, not the extra mile. And then how many times are you asking on the phone? Hey, do you know anyone that can help me? I started this job as a sales rep with this company. I'm selling this stuff. How hard is that? I'm 52 years old, probably one of the best salespeople, making 7-8 figures a month, determined upon how well I'm doing in sales. And I literally check my sent box every day and count how many asks I have in my email. How many times on the bottom does it say, hey, can you invite people? Do you know anyone that wants to come to my free training on Friday? Right? I'm trying to change the world. This is my mission. Do you know anybody? I'm asking all of you right now in my training. Do you know anybody that wants to come to a free training to learn how to be happy, to make more money, help more people, and have more fun? Right? Every place I go, I'm checking because it's just numbers. And I know this about, and this is probably to be the best lesson I teach you, segmentation. Here's why numbers and math are so important. Let's say that you want to make $1 million, more than $1 million. Always say over, don't just say $1 million, because then you limit yourself. So I want to help over 1 billion people. You guys want to make over $1 million a month, whatever it is. Well, here's what happens. If that's your goal, most people, when they get to 25% of the way there, when they get to 25% of the way there, 99% of the people quit, right? It's the whole MLM problem, right? I tell people all the time, you've got no money, you want to make money, get a good product in an MLM and learn how to sell. You'll make it to $1 million a month, but most people quit 25% of the way there, 99. Then in half as much time, because you get better at what you're doing, in half as much time, you get to 50% there. Well, 99% of the 1% quit at 50% of the way there. Then of the 1% of the 1%, they get to 100% of their goal in half as much time. So if it took you 10 years to get to 25% and you started voting for what other people wanted, the people that are laughing at you, scoffing at you, that only want the ordinary for you, because that's all people want for you is something that already exists, something ordinary, but instead you're extraordinary, right? So then it takes you 5 years to get to the next 25%. Now you're 50. Now it's only taking you 2.5 years to get to 100% of the way there. The problem with people is that they don't see the incremental growth and they get tired and they start listening and voting for what other people want for them, which is not what they want, and they elect in their life what they don't want. Then they're unhappy, they don't make money, they don't help people, and they don't have fun. If you vote for what you want and you're willing to enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential, keep accelerating growth. Remember, acceleration and growth, our senses suck and our memories worse. So it's like, any of you guys have kids, it's like someone coming over and saying, oh my gosh, your son is getting so big. And you look at him and go, he looked like the same size. I've been with him the last 12 weeks. Then you take him to go get shoes and you're like, shit, he grew a whole size. That's what happens to your pipeline. That's what happens to your sales skills. That's what happens to your sales knowledge. And it even happens to your desire. The number one quality, I have the Playbook, the number one entrepreneurial podcast in the world. I do elevator pitch. I have all these different things that I do. Surrounding myself, I represent the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the Clemente family. Extraordinary people, right? Only one quality they all have in common. They all must be what they can be. That's it. They're not quitters. They must be what they wake up every morning. They're not always happy. Everything doesn't always go their way. But no matter what happens during the day, they wake up the next morning and say, I must be what I can be. I'm in the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential. And the good ones enjoy it. That's what I want to teach people, not just to consistently, persistently pursue it out of fear or anger, frustration, but to enjoy it. And that's what you guys can do. So do the math, be consistent, and trust the incremental growth and acceleration, the exponential growth and acceleration that occurs by doing that.
Thanks, David. That was awesome. Anybody else got any last questions?
Yeah. David, I have a quick question for you. My name is Sean. Nice to meet you. Do you have any advice on how to be a better closer?
Yeah. So for me, being a better closer is 5 things, and I touched on it. So number 1, to be a better closer, you have to be a better opener, meaning you need to learn to stimulate interest. The more people that you stimulate interest from and ask for help from, the bigger the top of your funnel is, the better the closer you are. Because nobody knows statistically how you're closing. But I know that if I gave you 10 times as many leads, you'd be the number 1 closer of this whole group. So the number 1 thing is stimulate interest. And know this is some basic stuff. If you use the phone to call, 80% of all phone calls aren't answered. So what does that mean? That you better understand that when you leave a message, you are not selling. You only have one objective when you leave a message, and that's to get the person to call you back, period. Right? You can beat people on the stimulating interest side, whether you're knocking on doors. When you're leaving a message of any kind, in person, on the phone, via email or media, your only objective is to get them to call you back. You're not selling, you're not teaching. Nobody's ever bought one thing on an answer machine. Just get them to call you back. Unless it's your mother-in-law, then get her not to call you back. But either one is stimulating interest for what you want. 2, learn to transition interest with value, right? So make sure that you have credibility, emotional attachment, quantifiable value of reasons, impacts, and capabilities, using the features and benefits to explain those 3 things on features and benefits, which leads to overselling, backselling, lying, manipulating, and cheating people. So make sure that you transition interest, then share your vision on value. I have a 120 rule. If I can't convince you or anyone else that my answer is, can you see any reason you won't want to move forward? The same as if I said, hey guys, I got a $100 bill for each of you. Would you give me 20 back? Can you see any reason you won't want to move forward? As long as I have credibility with you guys that the $100 is real, I can't see any reason you won't want to do it, right? So know your math of the value. Then 4, most importantly, when you get to share a vision and you get a verbal agreement with somebody and they say, yeah, I want to do it, tell yourself you're 20% of the way there. Know that the real business is done. How you thrive is to manage and develop a vision. I use a go, no-go plan, either verbal or written, most of the time written, where I predetermine our success by getting someone to continue to say yes. So someone gives me the yes, I'd like to move forward. Terrific. This is what we're going to do next. I'm going to come to you when I do it. If you agree, we're going to move to this step. If you agree, we're going to move to this step. If you agree, we're going to move to this step, all the way down the line to when you're completely satisfied that I met your expectations, not exceeded them, because very rarely in your life are you going to exceed anyone's expectations. You can live under that fallacy and try to do it, but just meeting expectations, you will thrive, right? So I lead them all the way to a go, no-go plan right when they say a verbal yes, knowing my business well enough to say, here's what we're going to do next. Here's what we're going to do next. Here's what we're going to do next. I provide that to them in writing. And then I say, and at the end, when you're completely satisfied because I meet your expectation, you're going to give me 3 people's name that you know that I can help the same way. Does that sound fair? Boom. I'm literally giving a roadmap to my future of a yes and a written yes and a payment. Remember, 80% people think is selling, 20% is selling, 80% is collecting. So, this helps you collect, which is a very important thing. So, and then you thrive. So stimulate interest, transition interest, share a vision, manage and develop a vision, and thrive.
Great.